Dallas Cowboys fans have been talking about this for a while now, and it feels like every offseason the conversation circles back to the same uncomfortable truth. The cornerback room still needs help, real help, not just depth pieces or short-term patches. When you look at the current roster, there are a couple of names the team clearly believes in for the long haul. Darren Bland has already shown he can be a playmaker and bring that aggressive edge the defense craves, while Savion Revel profiles more as an outside presence with the physical traits teams look for. Bland gives you flexibility because he can line up inside or outside, but even with that versatility, there's still too many unanswered questions once you move past those two. Behind them, the competition feels more like a battle for the bottom of the depth chart rather than a reliable safety net. Guys fighting for fourth and fifth cornerback spots are fine to have, but the concern comes when injuries inevitably happen and suddenly those players are forced into major roles. That is where things start to feel shaky, and that is why the Cowboys cannot afford to ignore this position again. The league is too pass-heavy, quarterbacks are too efficient, and offenses will target weakness without mercy. Dallas has felt that pain before, and nobody in the building wants a repeat. Part of what makes this offseason so interesting is the coaching staff now in place and how their background could influence the type of cornerbacks the Cowboys pursue. There are familiar faces with experience developing defensive backs, and that naturally brings up the idea of players who have already worked within similar systems. When a coach has history with a player, there is usually a level of trust that can speed up the transition. That does not mean every reunion works, but it often explains why certain names keep popping up in discussions around the league. One of the most intriguing questions is what Dallas truly wants stylistically from the cornerback position. Are they leaning toward a bigger body who can handle physical matchups on the outside, or are they prioritizing quicker, more agile defenders who can survive in the slot and hold up against the run? The answer to that question will shape everything else. A player who thrives in nickel situations brings different value than a pure boundary corner, and the Cowboys need to be crystal clear about that vision before making moves. There are free agents with previous ties to members of the coaching staff who could make sense on paper. Some of them are coming off their most productive seasons, particularly when used more inside, while others offer a more traditional outside skill set. The appeal is obvious. Familiarity breeds comfort. But comfort alone cannot be the deciding factor. The Cowboys have been burned before by betting on past connections rather than present performance. Every potential signing has to be evaluated through the lens of fit, durability, and consistency, not just name recognition. Inconsistency has been a recurring theme among several available corners. Some players flash elite ball skills one week, creating turnovers and swinging momentum, then struggle the next, giving up big plays and drawing criticism. That feast or famine profile can be tempting because of the upside, but it also comes with risk. Dallas has to decide whether they want stability or are willing to gamble on potential, especially with a defense that already relies heavily on pressure and takeaways to function at its best. Veteran options also exist, and while they may not be stars anymore, they bring experience and a certain level of reliability. A short-term deal for a seasoned corner can make sense if the price is right and the expectations are clear. The danger comes when those veterans are asked to be more than they are at this stage of their careers. Decline is real in the National Football League, and cornerback is one of the most unforgiving positions when it comes to aging. Still, having a steady presence who understands leverage, positioning, and situational football can help stabilize a young group. Beyond free agency, there's always the trade market lurking in the background. Teams are constantly balancing their salary cap and depth charts, and sometimes quality players become available not because they lack talent, but because they're too expensive or blocked by younger options. Dallas has explored this avenue before, and it remains a viable path if the front office believes a specific player can elevate the defense immediately. The challenge is weighing the cost, both in draft capital and future money, against the potential impact. Draft season adds another layer of intrigue to the conversation. The Cowboys have often leaned on the draft to address defensive needs, and this year's class includes several cornerbacks who could hear their names called early. Selecting a corner in the first round is a statement. one that signals trust in development and patience. It also comes with pressure because that player is expected to contribute right away, especially for a team with postseason ambitions. The coaching staff's ability to mold young talent will be tested if Dallas goes that route. Some prospects stand out because of their physical tools, length, and athleticism, while others win with instincts, technique, and competitiveness. There are players who excel in man coverage and others who are more comfortable in zone concepts. Dallas has to align those traits with what they want to do defensively. Drafting the wrong type of corner, even if he is talented, can slow down the entire process and leave fans wondering what could have been. As all these options swirl together, one thing is clear. The Cowboys cannot afford half measures at cornerback anymore. Whether it is through free agency, trades, the draft, or a combination of all three, this position demands serious investment and a clear plan. The margin for error is slim, and the rest of the defense depends on getting this right, especially in a conference loaded with elite quarterbacks and explosive passing attacks. When you start stacking all these possibilities side by side, it becomes obvious that the Cowboys are at a crossroads with this position. Standing still is not an option, and simply hoping internal development fixes everything would be wishful thinking. The league has shown, year after year, that offenses will relentlessly attack the weakest link in the secondary. If Dallas enters the season with unanswered questions at cornerback, those questions will be exposed early and often. That reality alone should push the front office toward a more aggressive mindset. One factor that cannot be ignored is health. Several potential targets, whether through free agency or trade, come with recent injury histories. On one hand, that can drive down the cost and create value if the medical staff feels confident. On the other, it introduces risk at a position where availability is almost as important as talent. A cornerback who cannot stay on the field provides no answers, no matter how high his ceiling might be. Dallas has to balance upside with reliability, especially considering how thin the room can become when injuries pile up. There is also the question of financial flexibility. Big-name corners with proven track records do not come cheap, and committing significant money to one player can limit options elsewhere on the roster. The Cowboys have to decide if they want to make a splash with a high-cost addition or spread their resources across multiple moves. Sometimes the smarter play is not the flashiest one, but rather a series of calculated decisions that collectively raise the floor of the defense. Scheme fit continues to loom large in every conversation. A corner who thrives in press-man coverage might struggle if asked to play off coverage and read the quarterback. Likewise, a zone specialist may have issues when isolated against elite receivers. Dallas has to be honest about what it asks its corners to do snap after snap. That honesty should guide every evaluation, from veteran free agents to draft prospects still learning the nuances of professional defenses. Younger players bring a different kind of excitement. Drafting a corner high injects energy into the fan base and offers the promise of long-term stability. It also requires patience because even the most talented rookies experience growing pains. The speed of the professional game, the complexity of route combinations, and the precision of quarterback play all test young defenders immediately. Dallas has to be comfortable living with some mistakes early if it believes the payoff will come later. Trade sits somewhere in the middle ground, offering a blend of experience and immediate impact. A proven corner entering his prime can transform a secondary almost overnight. The downside is the price, both in terms of draft picks and salary. Giving up valuable picks limits future flexibility, and that is a tough pill to swallow for a team that prides itself on building through the draft. Still, if the right player becomes available, it is a conversation the Cowboys have to be ready to have. Another layer to all of this is competition within the room. No matter who is added, the goal should be to raise the overall standard. Healthy competition pushes players to improve, sharpens focus in practice, and creates depth that can withstand the grind of a long season. When backups are capable of stepping in without a massive drop-off, the entire defense benefits. That depth has been missing at times, and addressing it should be a priority. The modern National Football League also demands versatility. Corners are no longer just outside defenders tasked with following one receiver. They are expected to tackle, support the run, communicate in complex coverages, and occasionally slide inside, depending on matchups. Players who can wear multiple hats give defensive coordinators more freedom and make it harder for offenses to exploit tendencies. Dallas has seen firsthand how valuable that flexibility can be when injuries or game plans force adjustments. All of these elements point toward a multifaceted solution rather than a single move. One signing alone will not fix everything, and one draft pick will not magically solve the problem overnight. The Cowboys need a layered approach, blending youth and experience, upside and stability. It is about building a cornerback room that can survive adversity and still perform at a high level when it matters most. As the offseason unfolds, every rumor, every visit, and every mock draft will fuel speculation. Fans will debate which path is best, and opinions will differ wildly. What matters most is that the organization stays true to a clear vision and commits to it fully. Cornerback has been a pressure point for too long, and this offseason represents another chance to finally turn that weakness into a strength. There's also an internal evaluation happening that fans do not always see. Coaches spend countless hours reviewing every snap from the previous season, looking for small signs of growth or warning flags in their young defensive backs. Sometimes a player who struggled early begins to show better instincts late in the year, better communication, or improved technique that does not always jump off the stat sheet. Those subtle improvements matter because they can influence whether the team feels comfortable penciling someone into a larger role or decides to look elsewhere for answers. Another important aspect is how the cornerback room fits with the rest of the defense as a whole. Pass rush and coverage are tied together, and one cannot thrive without the other. If Dallas believes its pressure up front can consistently disrupt quarterbacks, it might feel more confident taking calculated risks on corners with aggressive play styles. On the flip side, if the front four does not dominate, the corners will be asked to hold up longer in coverage, which changes the type of player the team should prioritize. That balance will heavily influence offseason decisions. At the end of the day, this is about raising the overall ceiling of the defense while protecting against collapse if things go wrong. The Cowboys know they cannot rely on perfect health or ideal game scripts. They need corners who can survive bad matchups, respond after giving up a play, and stay mentally tough over the course of a long season. That mindset, more than any single name or move, will define how successful this cornerback overhaul truly becomes. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. The sports media world was shaken by a dramatic on-air moment that quickly turned into the subject of locker room whispers and industry speculation. During a live broadcast, veteran commentator Skip Bayless stunned viewers by physically throwing a Dallas Cowboys jersey into the trash and unleashing a furious rant that appeared to be directed at head coach Brian Schottenheimer. The outburst, raw and emotional, immediately ignited rumors about what may be happening behind the scenes between the outspoken analyst and the franchise he has followed so obsessively for years. Bayless shouted that Schottenheimer had destroyed his life and demanded that the coach get out of here, language far stronger than the usual hyperbole expected from televised debate. While some dismissed the act as theatrical performance designed to generate clicks, others inside media circles believe the reaction hinted at something deeper. Speculation quickly emerged that Bayless may have had access to internal expectations about the Cowboys that were recently shattered, or that he felt personally betrayed by the direction of the team under the new coaching leadership. The symbolic disposal of the jersey carried weight. For a figure who built much of his brand on relentless belief in the Cowboys' potential, tossing the uniform away suggested more than frustration with a single decision. It felt like a public breakup. Some observers theorized that Bayless had strongly advocated for a different philosophical approach and now sees Schottenheimer's influence as the final blow to a vision he had defended for years. Others went further, wondering if private conversations or promises made by team insiders failed to materialize, leaving the commentator feeling exposed and mocked. Around the league, the moment became instant gossip. Was this the end of Bayless as the Cowboys' loudest supporter, or simply another chapter in his long history of dramatic reversals? No official response came from the team, fueling even more conjecture. In the absence of clarity, the scene remains suspended between authenticity and performance. A vivid example of how modern sports discourse blurs the line between genuine emotion and calculated spectacle. Whether planned or spontaneous, the image of a jersey in the trash may linger far longer than the words that accompanied it. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.